All right, guys, here we go. We're going to take a ride on the train to Living History Days.
Bye, Dave.
Good to see you. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Hey, Dave. How you doing? Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, welcome to my cabin.
I've heard about this cabin. This looks like a really neat house.
Well, me and my wife, Tom and Carolyn's cabin, we call it. But yeah, we just love it. We just love it. We built it 2 years ago, and with some expert help, Boyd Crow and his son Bill from Tab, Indiana. Boyd is a master cabin builder, and he came over and laid it all out. Had the logs, and so he helped me put it up, and we're just thrilled to death with it.
Now, when I look at this doesn't look like the house I live in. It looks a lot. What is this?
This is all poplar lumber, all poplar logs right here.
So
yeah,
these were trees.
they were big trees.
Wow.
Yes.
And
yeah.
how do they put them together here in the corner? That looks kind of weird to me.
Well, I tell you, Boyd had little tools, homemade tools, that he laid out those with them. And we had modern chainsaws actually, but back then they were done all by hand. But he would make the lines and draw the angles and everything, and I would cut them with a chainsaw, and they all fit together just like a puzzle, just like a set of Legos, you might say.
And so, do you stack them up from the bottom and
You
just keep
start,
going?
yes, you start at the bottom, you lay some foundation stone, and in fact, we use stone like here, a hand-cut stone, and this all comes from Indiana, out of a quarry, you know, and that's the type of stone you would set them on, yes.
So, like today when we build a house, a concrete truck comes and they pour concrete.
Right, same principle.
But they cut these out of stone by hand.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Many buildings were built with these. Even in the cities with the older buildings downtown, you can still see this type of stone hold them up. That'll hold them up. Right.
So if I lived 150 years ago, how do we get those logs stacked up that tall? Because they didn't have cranes or anything, did they?
Absolutely not, Dave. There would have been a lot of horsepower involved. Block and tackle.
What's a block and tackle?
It would have been a rope with a double pulley assembly, and it doubles your pulling power when you pull on the rope the way it's assembled together.
Okay.
And that was a thing widely used.
Is that the thing I see where there's pulleys up here and pulleys down here and there's ropes? And when they pull it, it comes up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That along with the horsepower would have done it. Naturally, we had the modern tractors and loaders here to do it with, but back then you would have had everything would have been done by hand. You'll notice my porch posts. I went back in the woods and we got a couple of maple trees and a couple of hickory trees for a porch post here. I wanted them authentic, and that's what we used right out of the woods. I had the oak lumber on hand, white oak lumber for the porch floor, and so that's what we used there. Yeah.
Porch makes a nice place on a hot summer evening, doesn't it?
We love it out here. A little breeze blowing.
There's no air conditioning inside, is there?
None whatsoever. One window that opens up.
Yeah. Well, would you mind to take me inside and show me around?
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. Glad you stopped by.
Come on. So here we are on the inside of your cabin, and the logs you were telling me about, these are those really big logs we saw outside?
Yes, sir, Dave. The cabin is made from poplar logs. One reason a lot of people like to use poplar was because the insects and the termites will not invade poplar lumber, so to speak, and eat on them. And so we were fortunate enough when we built the cabin, Mr. Crone, Boyd Crone, and his son Bill from Tab, Indiana. Boyd is a master cabin builder, and he's only 94 years old, 95. So he's got a lot of years ahead of him yet. but he has built numerous cabins all over the United States. And I was fortunate enough, I knew Boyd, and I asked him if he would help me to build this cabin 2 years ago. We built it in 2018, and we just love the cabin. My wife has decorated it. Carolyn has decorated the cabin inside of it. But as you can see, all the interior is poplar. Now the porch is oak floor, white oak floor, naturally, but we have oak floor in here also that Bill had sawed and was cured, dried lumber. So we were just really happy with the cabin itself.
So when we watched the guys over at the sawmill, they could saw these big logs to make this.
That's correct.
And saw the boards for the floor and for the roof and everything.
That is correct, yes. Now, the early cabins, of course, the pioneers would have had to done a lot of the work by hand. And actually, they didn't have the sawmill we have today. But they would have gotten it done, as we know, they've done it for hundreds of years, built log cabins. But these logs today would have been sawed with a sawmill. That's right.
So a cabin like this, would just 2 people live here or 3?
No, there would have been families, mother and dad and the children. And as you can see, we have the loft up here, and that's where the children would have slept, up in the loft. Mom and dad would have been down here on the bottom floor, next to the fireplace. They would have always been close. If they could have closer, the warmer they would have been naturally. But your cabins at that time would have just had a fireplace, and they would use that for the heat and also for the cooking. Also, yeah.
So if I was a kid and I lived here, that's not just my bedroom, that's me and my brothers and my sisters.
Absolutely. And I can guarantee you've been more than one in a bed. Sometimes 2. A lot of times 2, yes.
But how do I get up there? Because I can't really, I can't reach.
I'm glad you asked that question, Dave. That's my most frequently asked question with the boys and girls when they came here. And there's a ladder, but I don't have it in here because I do not want the children to climb up and fall and have an accident. But yeah, we'd have had to have a ladder access it. I will say to the boys and girls, we're so happy that you're able to see us today, History Days. We in Illiana really miss having you here today. But with circumstances out of our control, as you know, we just cannot do that. So, but we're happy that you're able to see this. We've got a lot of things to show you here at Illiana, and we're very proud of it. And we always look forward to having you, and hopefully next year we can have you back again for History Days.
We have the kids' bedroom up there. This is Mom and Dad's bedroom here.
Yes.
There's no walls to separate it.
Some of the cabins would have had walls, but this one, no, we did not. This is a 16 by 20, Dave, the size of it. And there just really wasn't sufficient area here to build some inside walls, yeah.
So when we come over here, we've got our fireplace.
And you'll notice the coffee pot there over the fire to make the hot coffee, absolutely, yeah.
What's this thing here?
Well, that's the kerosene lamps, glass lamps, and we have 2 of them here in the cabin, but that would have been your early light. Now these, we have a light here. Of course, this is electric, but this would have been candles. This is also would have been a candle holder to have light over your dinner table, so to speak. We've got another homemade candle holder right here that actually would hold 2 candles. So they would have used, they would have had the candle light would have been our primary source of any light at all inside.
There was no electricity, no light switch?
None whatsoever, no sir, that's correct. But besides your fireplace light, what below it would have given off, and your candles, that would have been it. Yeah.
So I see that we have a place to eat, and I see we have a fireplace, but I don't really see a kitchen. How did they cook?
Over the fireplace. That's right. You'll see the mandrel here and everything prepared. You take the coffee pot off, excuse me. But you take the coffee pot off and you would hang your pot. I'm glad you asked that question. I've got the cooking pot right here, Dave.
All right.
And you'd pull this out. The lady would have put that on there. She'd have her food in there. And there you go. That's how you would cook your food right
So they
there.
didn't have a stove like we have in our house?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Yes, everything was done over the fireplace with the firewood. Yeah.
Well, what about a sink? I don't see a sink either.
No.
Where am I supposed to wash my
They,
hands?
they would have had pans. They would have had to have a wash pan right here. Good question. Right here, they would have brought water up from the creek and heated it over the fireplace, and there's your wash pan to do your dishes in right there. Yeah.
That makes me think about another question, Tom. Where's the bathroom?
Outside.
Outside?
Outside, yes. And no bathroom inside the cabins. Yeah, everything would have been outside. Absolutely.
What do you do in the middle of winter?
Outside.
That would be cold.
In my age, I've had to use the outside bathrooms many times when I was a kid. We did not have a bathroom till later on in life, and so yeah, I can verify that. That's what you done. Yeah.
So at night after you had supper and it wasn't maybe bedtime yet, do you go over there to watch TV?
No TV. I'm sorry. No electricity. No TV. No DVDs. No movies. No nothing.
No game system?
Here's what you done. You see the Bible laying here on the table, and the gentleman would always read a few verses, had the prayer over the meal, but after supper, they would take the Bible over by the candlelight or sit by the fireplace, read the scriptures. That's the reason your boys and girls were very knowledgeable about the Holy Scriptures during that time. Abraham Lincoln was noted for his knowledge of the Scriptures because he'd done a lot of studying and reading by the fireplace. Not only that, of course, but Abraham Lincoln was the law books. He was noted for his law.
So you mentioned Abraham Lincoln, and I remember reading about him when I was these guys' age, and he grew up in a cabin very similar to this, didn't he?
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
most of his life, didn't all of his schooling happen at home?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So maybe even for these guys who just in the last few months have done some school at home, maybe they kind of understand what Abraham Lincoln's life was like.
Yes, that's right. That's right. They would have been a few primer books that they got their basic education, the children and the moms and dads too. But they would have been a few, as I say, the early primer books for education on the grades. Yes, most of them, if they got 8th grade knowledge, that was as far as it went. Very few went beyond the 8th grade knowledge.
So they didn't really go to high school the way that we think about, or even college.
Not as we know it. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. It's a really different way to grow up. It's not anything like what we're used to today.
It would be different, that's for sure, but if you didn't know anything else, you wouldn't know the difference, You're used to growing up that way, so it's just part of life. That's the way it is.
And we talk about this being 100 or 150 years ago. It's about when people lived like this in the middle 1800s. But really, for most of human history, this is kind of how people have lived, isn't it?
I'll tell you a little story. My mother was born in 1904 or 5, and she was born in a log cabin.
Okay.
I mean, right down in Pine Creek Valley, about 4 miles south of here. My mother was born in a log cabin.
So just as recent as your mom.
Yes.
Born in and lived
early
in a place
1900s.
just like this.
Yeah. She took me down to the site when I was a child. Of course, there wasn't anything left, but she did show me the home site where the cabin sat. Yeah.
So a family would live in this for their whole life, wouldn't
Till
they?
they grew up and went away and got married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me see your cabin. This
Oh,
is a
we're
neat
so
place.
glad. We're so glad to have you today, and we're glad that the boys and girls and everyone can see the cabin. I'm happy to have you.
I don't think I got to tell you, boys and girls, yet, but Tom here, my friend, is actually the president of our club, and he organizes everything here with everything that we do with History Days and with our show in the summer, and just does a great job for us. It's a great thing that he does. It kind of keeps everybody organized, kind of like your teacher does in the classroom.
Well, we enjoy it. We have a lot of good volunteers, a lot of good members here, and we're very proud of our club here at Illiana. Very proud.
Very good.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, we'll see you guys. so glad you came on this trip with us. I hope you learned some things today. I hope it was a lot of fun. I hope you'll come back and see us again sometime. And maybe someday you could come out here in person and get to ride the train and see some of the very neat things we've gotten to share with you. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you.